Hey, before I kick off the podcast, I just want to shout out Next Door Clothing. Next Door, a clothing brand based out of Bondi in Sydney. They're making really nice jeans and shirts and hats. So go and check out their full range at nextdoorsydney.com. They're also artists, so you can go and check out a range of art. They put on rad parties, and I love what they're doing. So nextdoorsydney.com for the full range. Yeah, it's just like, it seems like there's some magic going on down there. I mean, there has been magic going on there for years, but...
Yeah, it's really like popping off now sort of thing.
Is it?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Do you think like Alex has brought that audience though? Like people have been inspired by, you know?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I think it's just more like laying the path, like it can be done from like your small local gym. Like you don't have to go overseas and train at like a super camp or anything anymore. You can do it in like your own backyard.
Yeah, that's what's becoming apparent, hey? And it's just so good. It, like, you know, it's so accessible for anyone that has a dream or the motivation or the desire, right?
And just to stick to it, yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, dude, so good. All right, let's get started. So this is for Clementine and Otis. Now listen, I want to thank everyone that's been using the THT promo code on the various websites of the sponsors of this podcast. So crushorganics.com, they make the best CBD oils and topicals. Again, it's done so much for me in regards to reducing inflammation, helping with levels of anxiety at times, and amazing for getting me in really good sleep patterns. So if you go to crushorganics.com, that's crushorganics.com and use code THT, you'll get the epic 40% discount, which makes a huge difference. Same with Indosol. They make footwear out of repurposed motor vehicle tyres. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, like Australia, you know, we're heading into spring and summer, so it's time to get your pair. So go to indosol.com. Whatever region of the world you're in, indosol.com, it'll direct you to the distributor in your area. And if you use code THT, you'll get a 15% discount. But moreover, you'll be supporting conscious consumerism, conscious fashion. You know, these guys are trying to help the environment by keeping things like old motor vehicle tyres out of landfill and putting them on your feet. And lastly, my friends at Kingpin Skate Supply in Wollongong, just the best dudes. They have the best range of shoes. You can get your Vans, Nikes, Adidas, but also the best skate supplies, all the best skate brands. So go to kingpinstore.com. That's KINGPINSTORE.com. Use code THT. Get the discount. Support local. Let's go. Terrible Happy Talks. Terrible Happy Talks.
Yeah, good to be here, man. Whoa. Dude, I'm
It's a Mr. Donut lifestyle. 3, 2, 1. Alright, let's do this. Today's guest is a 23-year-old professional MMA fighter. He trains at a freestyle fighting gym under the legendary head coach Joe Lopez. And this week, he's with me in person to share his journey, experiences, challenges, and hopes for the future. Mr. Colby, Golden Boy Thickenesse, welcome.
Thank you for having me on.
Dude,
Thank you.
My pleasure, man. I'm so stoked. And, you know, you've given up your Sunday morning to come and hang out and have a chat. So I want to get stuck straight into it. Why fighting for you?
I feel like fighting was one of the things that I was sort of had a bit of natural ability at when I started, but it was also just a good way to sort of challenge myself athletically, like as well as mentally. Because like I was all right at school and that, but I was never the sort of kid who could just sit down for an hour, copy notes, study or anything like that. Like to this day, like it sounds weird, but like I've never studied anything in my life, like besides fighting. But like you tell me to do something with fighting, I can go home and break down a sequence, watch it 10 times, write down everything, spend an hour watching a 25-minute fight 3 times in a row trying to pick up things. And it's like, doesn't seem like I'm trying to do anything sort of that I'm forcing myself. It doesn't feel like I'm trying to force myself to learn. I'm really engaged with it straight away. And then I just started that with a young age, and I was just like the challenge and then the constant feedback, because it's so easy to just compare yourself from today to yesterday and get that little bit of constant growth. And yeah, I was just competing since a young age, and I've just been sort of addicted to it now at this point, I think.
You mentioned like it stimulates you mentally as well as physically, and I'm a high school teacher, and to hear what you just said then is so interesting, because it just goes to show when you are genuinely interested in what you're doing, you will learn, right?
Yeah.
So you said you could watch a fight for an hour and break it down piece by piece, but what if I said, I want you to sit down for an hour and do like 10 maths exercises?
Oh, it wouldn't work well. No, I would lose focus or just interest, get agitated and stuff like that. It just doesn't, click sort of thing.
Yeah, like so many young people are like that though. I mean, I'm the same.
Yeah.
But then I felt dumb because I didn't have that discipline. Yeah. So you said you started at a young age. Like, how old were you when you first started fighting?
So I started freestyle wrestling when I was 6 years old. My dad used to do it when he was growing up, did it a bit when he was an adult. So he took us down to the local PCYC. So me and my twin would wrestle Tuesday, Thursday. We'd play or train footy Monday, Wednesday, then play footy on the Saturdays and do like wrestling comps on Sundays and stuff like that. So yeah, it was unreal. Sort of training 4 days a week when we were little, wrestling from 6 to 13, won national titles, state titles. We both went pretty good. Then when we were, I think my brother went a little bit. When he was a little bit earlier, so I think he was around 11 or 12 when he went to the MMA gym with Joe, and I remember I finished under 12s of footy, and I was about 45 kilos dripping wet, playing centre, getting ran over by like 80 kilo Islander kids, and I was like, fuck this, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go fight people my own size or something. So made the switch to MMA and been there for 10 years now. I haven't looked back.
Wow, man. Wow. It's I just think it's so funny, like with footy. You know, when we say footy, just for those of you that in other parts of the world, we're referring to
NRL,
rugby league,
yeah,
rugby league. So, and it's a tough game, you know. And I guess like you don't necessarily have to be naturally big, but there are certain body types and ethnic backgrounds that
dominate.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Is that another thing you felt with MMA, that you do prefer individualized sports and not team sports?
Yeah, I'm a very competitive person, like not almost in a bad way, but like I like to win at everything sort of thing. So when we were playing footy, like I was playing centre, and probably like we won a few premierships when we were younger and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it got to the stage where like say if we would have they would have a 5-on-2 overlap and they would get in, like I would start arguing with my own team, asking like, getting that competitive, like getting cut at my own teammates. I'm like, why are you letting us lose? Like, why are they setting this up? And it's like, and I couldn't handle the fact, like, if I can play my best game in the world, but if 2 other people slack off and cause shit, we still lose. Whereas I like to have all that responsibility. So if I lose, it's on me. If I win, it's on like me and my team around me sort of thing.
That's so funny. I was just talking to my friend Shell the other day about that. Like, I used to hate the fact too that you can lose and it's not your fault.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because I used to play soccer for many years. That's so funny. Yeah, I mean, that transition though, going from, like I said, a team sport where it's heavily sort of team orientated, then going to individualized sport. Did you find, even at a young age, like you like hard training?
Yeah. There's always something about, even now these days, like obviously I'm still training hard, but I got a bit more into like longish distance running, nothing crazy in that, but it's just that sort of mental fortitude and toughness that you have to build. Because like I don't think there's a better feeling in the world than when you do a super sort of hard workout, you're at that breaking point, you manage to push through and then you finish. Like there's nothing like it in the world sort of thing. It's like that constant feedback loop of is like, it sucks, and then boom, you get through it. It feels amazing, and just always trying to chase it and come back for more.
When you say it feels amazing, like let's break that down a little bit. It feels amazing physically, but what's it doing for your mental health?
Oh, it's honestly nothing like it, because there's been days where you wake up and we'll say like a Thursday morning, it's like a lactic condition workout. It's like sprints on a salt bike. Like I still get nervous. Like I wake up Thursday, I'm like, fuck's sake, I got to go do this workout. So it's one of them ones. So it can sort of show you and even when you don't feel like showing up, sometimes you have your best performances. And then you're like, okay, so if I didn't feel good doing this and I still managed to perform, imagine when I do feel good. And then like with the mental side of it, it's just teaching you to like, there's a lot of barriers people have in their minds, I think, whenever it comes to anything hard. And it's just learning, like you might not be able to break through all of them, but if you can break one barrier, then the next week you can break another one, you can slowly sort of get through. And then just that, the challenging aspect, like I like when things suck, because if something sucks, it's probably going to be good once you get through it.
what have you learned about yourself? So you've learnt that, but what have you learned about yourself when you are? Because I mean, I love heavy training as well, and I don't think enough people really understand what heavy training is.
Yep.
And I've learnt so much about myself. Like I have this breaking point on my, and what have you learned about yourself in those situations? Have you learnt that you have good mental strength, or have you learnt that you start to lose your shit at a certain point? Like, I don't know.
I feel like with a lot of the stuff I do, it's that you just need to, everybody has different ways to get through it. And the sort of way I look at it is I always just tell myself, like, you can always be doing more sort of things. So, like, say there'll be times I take off for, say, like a 30K run. I might be like 6Ks in and I'm like, man, I'm not feeling this sort of thing. And then you sort of have them little battles. You're like, all right, I'll just do 10 and stop sort of thing. But it's all about just like shutting it down. And I'm very sort of goal driven. So if I have a goal, I'm just going to stick to that. So say if I want to hit a sort of calorie target on the assault bike for my sprints, like I'm going to do everything in my power to get that sort of thing. And then the biggest thing is if I don't hit it, I'm going to spend the next week suffering and like in my head thinking like, well, fuck, didn't I hit that sort of thing? So it's just like these constant little games you play. And then David Goggins is really good with it because he talks about like that, enlightenment through suffering and stuff like that. And that's like the things I enjoy, whereas like some people can sort of sit, meditate for 30 minutes and feel amazing. I don't mind a bit of meditation in that, but I feel like I get my sort of like best dopamine hits and everything when I have to like actually go out and earn it and be physical, and like I have to sort of earn my rewards, like earn that natural high instead of just like sitting there and just waiting for it to come sort of thing.
I can't believe you said that. I've been talking about it on here a lot because like I can't meditate and everyone's like, you got to meditate, it's so good. But I've realised that, like physical movement meditation that's my meditation. Like hard training is my meditation, like punching the bag, for an hour. That's a meditation. It's, I'm just not thinking about anything else but that, and it just really works for me. And you just said the same thing.
Yeah, like some of my favourite things to do is, some people probably think, but I'll get headphones on and I'll set like, all right, I'll run for say 2.5 hours straight. I can't stop. I go on YouTube, get like 3 of my favourite DJs, chuck the mixers on, wait till it gets dark at night. So just like moon and stars and boom, and just go run for like 2.5 hours. So I'm just, at that one, it's not trying to set a crazy pace or anything, but it's just getting time under the legs for training wise. But then there's nothing like it. Like where I live down Shore Harbour, you get like along the beaches, Bass Point, around Lake Illawarra, like it's surreal. Like you're halfway through a run and it's like, I don't know, it's hard to explain for people who haven't done it before, but there's something different, like running past the ocean, stars out, moonlight, good tunes. Like it's a surreal feeling.
Man, it's good that you recognise that. And I think because you've grown up in that area, it'd be very easy to take it for granted. Like I know I did. I grew up on the South Coast and I hated it. And then I travelled the world and went various places and went, oh my God, where I'm from is absolutely amazing. You mentioned David Goggins. He's an influence on you?
Yes, he is.
Who would you regard as some of your major influences?
Oh, easily number 1 and like 2 would be Joe and Alex, just for how they sort of laid the blueprint for the path I want to follow on that. But probably like external ones, I'd say like David Goggins was one of the first sort of guys I think when I was coming through high school, he started sort of popping up in that sort of thing, and I started following his sort of journey in that. And yeah, he's probably one of the main ones. And someone's like, I know some people have different, like Joe Rogan, even him, just the way he sort of added so many, because I've been listening to him since I was about like 14, 15. So even then it was pretty young. I didn't really understand why he had heaps of guests in that, but I just liked the fact that I could click to hear. I knew sort of what Joe Rogan was about, and then he would have another guest who was sort of an expert in the field, and I could try and learn something from that. And that sort of always taught me to like, you can always learn something from anybody and then apply it to like your own aspect of life.
You have a dream, hey?
Yeah.
What's your dream?
I want to be a UFC champion.
What division?
Bantamweight. If I can still make bantamweight by the time I'm in there, but I feel like I can with a sort of dietitian and everything like that. But
what's, for those that are not who don't know what bantamweight is, like tell us what that is in like what weight division?
So it's 135 pounds or 61.2 kilos.
And you're 175 centimeters.
Yes.
What's that in feet? It's like, I think it's 5'8",
something like that. Yeah.
Wow. And so, I mean, what do you weigh currently?
So I got down to, because I'm at time of this recording, I hopefully should be fighting in 3 weeks, upper division.
Yeah.
So I was dieting. I was waking up around 68, But right now, because I might be fighting at 66, I've bumped back up, so I'm waking up around like 70 to 70 and a half now, sort of thing.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
So that would be your ultimate. That would be your ultimate weight division.
Yeah, because right now, like, I'm taking featherweight fights, trying to, because just the opportunity to fight at bantamweight isn't, like, there's fights there, but the schedule I want to go on, I've been out for like almost 22 months or something at this point due to like corona, concussions, injuries and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to get active. So if I have to float between two divisions to get my fights up, I will. But yeah, working with a good dietitian, where I sit, I always stay at a good weight because I'm naturally training 6-7 days a week sort of thing. So I only need like 4 or 5 weeks and then I can get on weight pretty comfortably, get fit, and then, yeah, get my fights up at 61.
So how much internal pressure do you feel training under the likes of Joe Lopez and with Alexander Volkanovski? Are you feeling an internal pressure to live up to a particular standard?
I am, but I think that's what excites me is I know I'm the type of guy, if I'm sparring someone a little bit below my level, I might not have that additional pressure, so you're not as focused and that sort of thing, whereas I always spar a lot better or fight even better when I'm fighting with tougher oppositions. I much prefer to like have that pressure and sort of be like, oh, people sort of doubt me, they want to expect a lot, I want to show them a lot sort of thing. Like, I don't, so there is pressure there, but I'm someone who I perform well under pressure. Like, I embrace it, like I want the pressure. It sounds weird, but it makes me almost clearer with it, where if there's not as much pressure in that, I'm almost like a little bit too relaxed. There's been times where I've come out to fights and that have been too relaxed and I haven't put pressure on myself, and I try and have a little bit too much fun with it, and it made it a lot harder for myself, where I go in there sort of embrace the pressure, put a lot of weight on my shoulders, and I really find for me personally that helps me like perform to a higher level.
Pressure makes diamonds.
Exactly right. Or it can crumble you. Depends on who you are.
But like, again, like it's progression as well in terms of, yeah, if you're not fighting tougher opponents or training with tougher opponents, yeah, are you gonna progress?
Exactly right.
Yeah, but have you ever heard of the inverted U principle in training? It's like you got the optimal level of arousal, so you can, put yourself under pressure, but if you go too much pressure, it can be counterproductive to performance. So it's finding that balance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, are these the kind of concepts that Joe and Alex are instilling in you as well, and pacing yourself? And
yeah, well, they're really good because everybody has their own like unique approach to how they want to approach fights and that, because it's a very sort of raw and personal experience. Like, there's not like everybody knows like most people, I would say, know what it's like to be in a fight. Like, it is a pretty nerve-wracking experience, just a street fight of that. But then you got to realize, like, you sign a contract and you're fighting for 8 weeks, and on your mind, 8 weeks, there's a guy who's doing everything as much as you're doing. He's trying to come and pretty much knock you out or choke you out in front of. So it's like, it's a lot of mental pressure. So some people really need to be backstage, slap themselves, get the heavy music and really psych themselves up. I say I stay super chilled with it. I like to have like good flowy tunes and that. And pretty much it's not until I'm walking out, and once I get in there, then I almost flick a switch and I just become cold. Whereas like I take all emotion out of it. Like, it's purely objective. Like, I don't look at it like a fight. It's like completely a like competitive sporting event. Like, it's like the damage doesn't worry me, like injury, anything like that. I just don't even think about it. I just think of like it's a competitive athletic endeavor in front of me, whereas I'm trying to use my skills against him. Yeah. And yeah, I found getting rid of emotion for me personally makes me perform a lot better, whereas some people need that. They really need to psych themselves up and almost make it into like, well, it is a fight, but make it a much bigger fight than it really is.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, I was talking to someone about this the other day. Like, I mean, I've done some sparring low level, at boxing, over the years. I don't think there's ever been a single time I've felt angry at my opponent.
Yeah.
Now, do you try to put yourself in a headspace where you feel angry towards them, or are you just going in there with huge respect for them?
Oh, it's always huge respect, but I like to think of it as like calculated aggression almost.
Calculated aggression.
Yeah, so I need that aggression to sort of, when I see the shot there, attack it with like, I almost say like, what is it? I can't really think of it, but there's a sort of mindset I was trying to approach it with, where it's like, I want to be able to sort of, I just say go in for the kill. So if opportunities there is to land a clean 1-2 down the pipe, I can calculate it and I can get that aggression. Whereas sometimes if you try and stay a little bit too calm and flow, you might miss opportunities. Whereas I'm trying to create an opportunity to sort of land the kill shot sort of thing. And so it's like calculated aggression where I'm in there, I'm figuring everything out, I'm getting my reads, I'm trying to set him traps and all the sort of fight IQ parts of it as well. But I need to do that with aggression because some people say like Anderson Silva or something like that, they don't, obviously you can say they don't really fight with aggression, they can just flow in that. That obviously suits their style very well.
Tactician.
Exactly. I've tried that. It doesn't really work for me. I need to have that sort of more bit of that dog and mongrel in me sort of thing.
But again, like a combination of. Yeah, because would I be right in saying you're not actually thinking about hurting that person? You're just thinking about getting the shot and getting the points and getting that.
Exactly right. It's not some. I'm not thinking about.
It's a sport.
I'm thinking about pretty much incapacitating them in a state where they're knocked out. But I'm not thinking like, oh, I can't wait to like hit him with a bigger shot and hurt him. I'm like, I just want to hit him to put him down so he can't get back up so I can win. Or I want to choke him out so I get the win. It's all for the goal of winning, and to win you're going to have to either get your points up and beat them on rounds or try and land that shot to put their lights out. And I always want to think if I can land a shot to put someone's lights out, like you don't get paid to be in there, so you don't get paid for ring time. So if I can get in and get out in quick time, put game finishes up, that's how I want to be.
The average person will not know what it's like to knock someone out. Describe it for us. How do you feel when you do that?
I never had power until I've got more power now, obviously, until my last professional fight sort of thing. I was all TKOs, but remember the first time I actually dropped some guy with a punch? It was in my pro debut. I slapped his leg and I threw a big overhand and I hit him.
Slapped his leg like a low kick?
With my hand, like faked a takedown to drop his hands. Because I shot a few takedowns and he'd bring his hands down. So Joe shot the call out, one of our calls, did that, slapped the leg, got the hands down, threw the overhand. And I never dropped someone before, so he dropped. And then I looked at him and I was like, I ushered him back up because I'm like, get up, I want to hit you again. And I was like, oh, fuck, he can't get up. He's like done. So then I ran in for like a massive uppercut and I missed it. And I landed a few elbows, ended up choking him out after that. But it's very surreal because I thought I would be like, oh, man, I'd feel it or something. But I remember I hit him and it was almost felt like I just went straight through him. And then I look up and I was like, oh, he's on the ground sort of thing. So
Did you feel worried about him?
Nah. I didn't because it was still around then. I choked him out and then I did my sort of I got up, celebrated for like 10 seconds, then I looked over and then I saw him how he was down on the ground and I was like, then straight away I was worried. It was like that initial rush where I was like, I didn't care about anything in the world. I was like, just wanted to celebrate. And then as soon as I sort of did 10 seconds later, I saw him on the ground, like straight away went over, like sat next to him, I'm like, fuck, I'm sorry. I'm like, yeah.
You said that?
Yeah. Like, obviously, like, it's the sport, but you don't want to do you want to, like, as much as I say I want to like, incapacitate, look for like a kill shot and that, like, I want to do it to achieve my goal, but I don't want to actually cause them any physical damage. Like, anyone I fight at that, like, I want them to leave how they walked in, like, healthy. So, knockouts, submissions, injuries, everything like that happens, but you don't want to be the reason, like, someone's like affected 10 years down the line sort of thing, which can happen, but it's almost like it's hard because it is a goal to do stuff like that. But I feel like most fighters have that same sort of idea where they're not in it to actually like hurt. They're just trying to, a lot of fighters, I think, just there to just prove it to themselves. Like, and the easiest way to prove to yourself is like get a hard target in front of you and sort of, you compare yourself that way because you can't really fight yourself.
How do you feel about receiving head knocks?
I'm not worried about it, to be honest, though. I actually went through a string of concussions. So when was it? I was scheduled to fight in March, I think. Yeah, it was March. And then I was sparring and I had headgear on and I copped a shot behind the ear. And then I got like a flash knockdown sort of thing. I got up.
With headgear on?
Yeah, headgear's actually worse for concussions.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we only wear them purely to prevent cuts because of wrestling, so level changes like headbutts and that, so you don't want to get cut coming to a fight. But because how headgears work, it blocks all your peripheral vision like this. So I think I framed with my left, and then they threw a shot over the back and got me back of the head, and like I got a flash knockdown.
You just couldn't see it coming.
Yeah, didn't see it coming whatsoever. And then I got up, I felt wheezy and that, went to a hospital. They said I had a concussion, and then they're like, I was meant to fight 3 weeks, and then they're like, probably don't fight. And then the card ended up getting postponed or cancelled sort of thing. So that was like a blessing in disguise. And then did my recovery. I probably came back, honestly, a little bit too soon from it because I was just had another fight lined up. So I was like, I need to get straight back into it. And then it came to fight week this is the start of May on a Monday. Me and my mate were training, just going for emotions. We both, same thing, we shot for a takedown at the same time. His head got me straight on my temple. He ended up getting his head glued, like had to go straight to hospital because he split his head open. And then I got hit on the side and I had like blurry vision and that. And I thought, all right, this is just because of the head knock. Like it's nothing too serious, but it's just, so I started icing my eye. Like I finished my training session. I felt not great, but I was like, it's fight week. You had a bad head knock, like it'll just pass sort of thing. And then I ended up going to the sup shop and I remember all I had to get was like a new thing of protein. And I was in my car, that nauseous. I was almost having like a panic attack thinking like, I don't even know if I can go in there. So I went in, like faked it like I was all right. Went home, no one was home. So I'm like, I'll just eat something then. I started cooking and then I smelt like this chicken and then boom, straight outside, vomited once. I'm like, fuck, this isn't good. Went back inside, started trying to eat, vomited again. Then I'm on the phone to my coach, Joe, crying. I'm like, what do I do? Like I'm throwing up. And then I had a girl from a gym had to come pick me up, take me to hospital and that. And then like, yeah, you got 2 concussions. So after that, because it was 2 in 6 weeks, it was like sort of severe and the levels of them. And then I had to do like almost like a 3-month sort of recovery protocol where I saw neurologists up in Newcastle, went for scans and everything. So it was like a pretty lengthy process. And even though it was sort of scary in that, it was good to see that if you do the recovery steps properly, you can still have quite successful longevity even in the sport sort of thing. So like I feel like head knocks isn't something you can really worry about. Like my style is I don't like to get hit. Like I want to hit you where you can't hit me. But if I get hit, like I'm very comfortable with it anyway.
Is that because like you're going for the takedowns more often and so you're harder to hit?
I think it's just my style is I try and be as defensively aware when I'm still being offensively sort of thing. So I'm just some guys like, as we were talking about a bit earlier, like Korean Zombie Rest, he'll happily take one to give one, or guys like Max Holloway where he relies on his chin and that, which is fantastic. He's a fan favourite fighter, but I don't want to leave my fighting career 5 years down the line. I'm slurring words, not speaking properly. Like I want to get in, get out, have all my successes I can, but I still think there's other avenues and careers I want to pursue after fighting. And to do that, you need to have a nice, healthy brain. And so you need to sort of minimize as much damage as you get into it.
Yeah, no, obviously. I'm sure, like, I mean, do your friends and family get worried about you?
When I had the second concussions, they did sort of thing, but it's like with anything, there's always going to be that worry factor, but you can see it with other sports, even like NFL, NFL, NRL, like some of the head knocks they get, and like back in the day they used to get concussions, get a magic sponge on them and they're back playing and stuff like that. So I think you've got to be aware of the risk, but you can't sort of let the risk sort of change your life sort of thing, like, because like realistically I could be scared, then you could be driving, get in an accident, you could do it. There's so many things that can happen in such a short span of time. So I'm like, well, I'm going to let one little risk factor change what I want to do for like the rest of my life. You
can't live life in fear, right?
Exactly right.
Yeah. I have to tell myself that all the time. It's so true. Like, why why live? It's not a good way to live. Like, if this is what you like to do, but minimize the risk as much as you can, right? I know we're talking a lot about fighting, which is great, and I do want to talk a little bit more about you and your background. But before we do that, let's talk about your fight record. So you're 1-0 professionally.
Yep. How
important are these numbers to you? So are you very cautious about the fights you take because you want to keep that clean sheet?
Nah, so I went 8-1 as an amateur, and so I was taking the one loss was like a short notice featherweight loss, and then I had a tournament where I did 3 fights in 3 days. I don't think in MMA the zero isn't as important as it is in boxing in that, because like a perfect example is next week when you got Tai Tuivasa, he's fighting Cyril Gane. If he wins that fight, he's going to fight for a heavyweight world title. For probably two or so years ago, he was on a 4-fight losing streak. Guys like that. Then you have guys like Kai Kara-France who just fought Moreno for an interim belt. I think he was like 2-2 when he started his pro career. Now he's like 23-7, stuff like that. You got guys like Dan Hooker who's still at the top of the division. Like, you look at a lot of these guys, even Leon Edwards have losses. Like, all these guys who are still at the very top of their divisions, they have a couple losses on their record sort of thing. There's very few guys, except like your Khabibs and that who will go through with that zero. I think in boxing it's a little bit easier, but in MMA, because there's so many more factors compared to just for hands, it's a lot easier for like different things to happen and play out, like circumstances you can't predict or that.
That's why it's so exciting too. I mean, that last weekend's fights with Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman, Usman, who was the pound for pound
Number one, yeah.
And then just that one, I think Leon Edwards threw like a jab and it was like Kamaru Usman slipped into the kick and then he, and boom, done. Just knocked out,
after
shattered dream.
Arguably winning the last 19, 20 minutes of that fight. Obviously lost the first round, but the next 3 rounds he was on top, dominating. Then Leon sort of came out with a good game plan, threw some kicks to get him to the body. Then same thing, he threw the jab cross, and then Usman saw the cross come and he slipped it, which is textbook, but he obviously just didn't see a kick behind it and he got flatlined sort of thing. So it's a very unforgiving game. Yeah,
it is. And like you said, it just things can turn on a dime. I mean, again, and that's why it's so exciting compared to a lot of other sports. But I think, because I've only really, I'll be honest with you, I avoided watching UFC UFC or MMA for years because I was like, it's too violent.
Yep.
The violence would actually upset me sometimes. I'll honestly admit it, some of the ground and pound stuff, and you see people covered in blood and stuff. But then the more I watch it, I see the elite athleticism of you guys and the training and the hard work that goes in. And then I see at the UFC level how I think the fighters are very well protected by amazing referees as well.
Yep.
Do you think that the sport is safer than people think it is?
100%. I think fighting is much safer than a lot of the popular sports. You look at for example, boxing is the easiest comparison, and then NFL as well. So if you go for boxing first, in boxing you've got 2 targets. You've got the body or the head. And also in boxing, you've got standing 8 counts. So not only do you get more shots to the head, you've got more chance to actually recover from the concussions that you get. A perfect example is Tyson Fury against Wilder. Got knocked clean out, completely shut off, got back up and kept fighting. If that's MMA, it's done sort of thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's 1 or 2 follow-up shots, sometimes on the ground, but that's it. And then you got sports like NFL, even with the headgear and that, and there's data coming out these days where it's just from such a young age, it's just boom, head knock, and
it's constant.
Exactly
and
right.
And little ones too. Yeah.
And people don't realise. And then even I was listening to I think it was Shane Dorian, the big wave surfer, and he was on Joe Rogan. He said big wave surfers that are getting CTE. Sometimes they get 3-4 concussions falling down the face of a wave and that sort of thing. It's nuts.
Wow, yeah. I've had it from surfing, just from a wipeout, just nose diving on a bigger wave and slapping the water with my head and just just coming up fuzzy head and have to go in and then have a real fuzzy head for the next few days. I'm I'm concussed.
Yeah.
And people don't even think of that really, do
Yeah.
they? But with sorry to cut you off there,
No, all good,
Colby.
man.
With the boxing, I mean, I've heard that. It's just there's constant little jabs in the head constantly. I mean, that's not really happening as much in MMA, but it seems like the hits can be bigger in MMA. And then it's like you said, then it's over. Because
Exactly
then
right.
the ref jumps in. It's the second they see the fighter, woozy or, obviously limp, it's over. So.
And because you got more targets too, you got the legs, you got the body kicks, you got the wrestling versus submission. So it's not like the shorter fights, they're 15 minutes, but it's not 15 minutes of getting your head punched. There's so many fights. You can go probably watch the next lot of fights and you'll see how many shots on the head actually lands. Yeah. It's not that many. It's a lot of leg kicks, body shots. You might only cop 5 to 10 shots around with little gloves. It still sounds uncomfortable, but compared to a boxing fight where you cop 10 to 25 punches in your head to a round sort of thing, yeah.
Would you prefer to eat a headshot or a body shot?
Oh, a headshot, man.
What about a leg? What about a leg kick though? Well, have you ever actually? Here's a question. Sorry, have you ever come up against a fighter who just starts chipping away at your legs?
Yes,
Is it the worst?
My fighter lost that short notice one at featherweight. I stepped in and I did a bit of. I obviously did striking in that before, but I was nowhere near as comfortable with just the whole game of striking as it is now sort of thing. Yeah. And then I remember I knew how to check kicks in that, and I walked in and I stepped into range and he threw one kick and I was like, fuck, that one hurt. And then I'm like, we're going to have to start checking these real soon. He threw another one. I didn't time it. And then I'm like, all right, I'm going to...
Like thigh or calf?
Calf. Like just below the knee and just below and above the knee. And then he threw the third one. I saw it coming. I went to check and my leg wouldn't move. And I was like, a minute in, I was like, fuck, it's going to be a long night.
Shit.
And yeah, actually, I ended up getting a scan done on my knee for another injury like a year or two ago now. And I've actually got a calcified LCL.
No way.
From that fight, yeah, like for more of a damage.
LCL, like that band of tissue that goes down.
What is it, like your lateral crucial ligament? Yeah, they said it's like
okay, around your knee.
Yeah, because like all the impact and that, because of it, it's like because ever since that fight, I've had like a little egg over the side. It's just like calcified, it sort of thing over the whatever it is there, and they picked it up on ultrasound. Like, did you hurt your knee? I'm like, oh, I had a fight and I got like belted in it. Like, it probably explains it. So yeah, it got kicked that much. Like tried to like recover and like get stronger by it sort of. So I guess it's sort of good, but it didn't feel good. I was limping through an airport for like I was limping for like a good week after it. Actually, it was sucked.
Dude, it would suck. But wow, man. Yeah, sometimes I watch fights and I see fighters with that strategy. Just, they start, chipping away at their lead leg with like thigh kicks and calf kicks, and you can just see their leg getting redder and redder and redder. And
it's not too bad in there. It's more when you sit down and stand up in between rounds.
Oh, okay.
When the blood sort of goes in that. Because, like, don't be wrong, I felt the kicks, but it wasn't like, my leg. It was more like, stop kicking me. I want to actually hit you sort of thing. But then it was like, once the adrenaline rushed down and the next day when you wake up, then all the blood and you're like, oh, man, it's going to be sore. But, yeah, I've been dropped before with headshots and that, and like obviously it sucks because if you get dropped with a headshot, like fuck, I'm probably going to lose if I don't do something pretty quick, but there's no pain or anything there because you don't see it coming, like you don't know it hits you.
Have you got a good jaw?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, I've legit ran straight into a head kick and managed to survive and win the fight from that. So
wow.
Yeah, it was like 10 seconds in. It wasn't It was one of the times it was in Wollongong. I walked out to Backstreet Boys and it was one of them. I was way too comfortable.
You deserve to get kicked.
Exactly right. Way too flowy with it. I'm like, I'm having the time of my life. And I didn't flick that switch where I was like, I'm in here for a fight. I'm like, I'll go out, get my reads. I'm like, I'll shoot for a takedown nice and early. And obviously he was in his zone straight away and I shot. He threw a switch kick and just straight on my head and just on my back, and I just remember seeing like three of him, and I just grabbed him and I just had to like grapple for the next 3 rounds.
So you went down, and then he jumped on you.
He jumped him
to
out
try to
and
ground
punched the
pound.
fuck out of me. Yeah.
And then, you still
I held
grabbed
on.
him.
He took my back, tried to choke me.
Yeah.
I got out. I went to stand up. He kneed me in my head, split me open there, and then I was like, all right, I got to just grapple him for the next 2 rounds to win. And yeah, I did it. Yeah.
So this is what I mean. Like, this is what I think the average person doesn't have, like that ability to be under such duress and then compose yourself. I think that's where I have so much respect for what you guys do. Going back to your fight record stuff, so you want to take fights. You
100%.
want fights.
Yep.
And you're not being too selective because you want to get the numbers up, as opposed to like even at the risk of losing.
Yeah, well, the way I look at it is I'm very comfortable and confident in my skill ability and where I'm at to take on pretty much every single like guy in my division in Australia sort of thing. So, and the way I look at it is if you want to make it bigger than that, you can't be picking and choosing your fights because when you do get to bigger promotions, you don't get a say in who you're fighting.
Yeah.
They might sign you up with a killer for your first fight. So if all you fought is easy, good stylistic fights in your come up, as soon as you have your first hard challenge, do you really want that to be in front of like on the biggest platform, the most pressure, thousands of people watching live, millions of people watching at home sort of thing? Or do you want to get them tough tasks done in like your own backyard and really sort of test yourself in that way? And I don't know, I think if you're a fighter, you should just fight people. Like, obviously you're not going to take a dangerous fight on a week's notice where you have to cut 10 kilos to make weight in that. But if you get a hard fight coming up and like, hey, do you two want to fight in 8 weeks? I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's what the sport is about, is you trying to find your best level of opposition, give yourself your best fight camp, give themselves the best fight camp, and then see who's the best at the end of the day sort of thing.
Oh, gotcha. For those that don't know, can you just tell us what's the path to the UFC then? So
pretty much depends on what area and that you're from sort of thing. For Australia, a basic path is obviously turn professional, win a good amount of fights with a good promotion, say like Eternal MMA, you've got like Hex Fight Series. There's lots of shows everywhere, and you sort of want to just clean out your division, get to the number one ranking in that, and then there's a few ways in. You have the Ultimate Fighter, which isn't as popular as it used to be. They're not doing as many like shows. It used to be like one every year or something. In America, yeah. So you could try out for that.
You could try it for okay.
Yeah, and then, or you could just get signed straight to the UFC, which some guys do. Or the normal way now is Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series. So it's on a Wednesday over here, and you just get like prospects from, you might get like a good guy from Australia who's undefeated, or he's got a couple of belts, he's on a tear, and they'll just pair you up with some killer from America, and then use to fight. If you win, you're not guaranteed a contract, but Dana White is there watching, and if he thinks you've put on a good show, you get a good finish or he sees potential, then you can get contracts that way as well.
Okay. Who are some Australian fighters you think are really upcoming and going to make an impact in the next few years?
So you got, do you mean who haven't been signed yet sort of thing?
Haven't been signed yet.
So you got guys in the Contender Series now. So we've got like this guy from Perth, what's his name? Oh, Stephen Ursek. He's a flyweight. He's a gun. He's up there. You got guys like this, another guy from Melbourne, Jack Jenkins. He's fighting a Contender. Then you got one of my teammates, actually, Justin Van Heeden. He's fighting for the Eternal Featherweight title. So he wins this, he gets another win or two. He's probably going to look at like a Contender Series. So there's a lot of guys on the sort of come up who are only like 1 or 2 fights away for like their next big opportunity. So yeah, it's good to see. Hopefully, I'm thinking probably 2 years, if I can get the fights league, that's like a 6-0 record or something like that, I should be able to get my turn at a Dana White Contender Series opportunity.
So you have to have that. You have to have some kind, a bit more of a deeper record to even try out.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Plus, you want to have that record sort of thing because you're
still young though, man.
Yeah,
heaps of time.
You don't want to have that. You see some guys, they come in, they're just too green, so they might have all the skills in that. They might come in at 3-0, whereas it's all right. Like they've got the skills there as a 3-0 fighter, but it's a pressure. It's a sort of just that ring time. It's a very different game. Like in Beast, best way I can explain is I did 3 fights in 3 days. So I did like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, cutting weight and everything. On the Friday, I was like super nervous before the fight sort of thing. Like by the Sunday, I was doing nothing before 10 minutes until the fight, where I did a little warm up and just went in and fought, and I wasn't even thinking about it sort of thing. It's just like almost like that exposure therapy where the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it. And once you're comfortable and you can translate how you train to how you fight, that's when you sort of know you're ready. But it's that bridging that gap between, all right, so you can spar good in the gym, but when you're under the lights, can you still perform at that level? And if you can't, you have to sort of iron out all the little creases why you can't perform under the sort of pressure and lights and that.
Exposure therapy, I love that. Yeah, just keep putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations, man. It's just a good metaphor for life, whether it's whether it's MMA fighting, just life. I just think everyone should be trying to get out of their comfort zone constantly, because that's where the good feelings are too.
100%, yeah, definitely.
And it builds your self-esteem. Yeah, man, I love it.
Just embracing new challenges and everything like that. Yeah, it's more. I feel like more people need to do it, especially these days.
What do you mean these days?
Just because I feel like everything's very easy and accessible and that sort of thing. Especially with like, I'm not sure, but more sort of my mates I see that I'm like, oh, hey, we'll go for like say for today, I'm going for like a nice big hike with my mate and that sort of thing.
Cool.
And I'm like, I'm trying to get all other mates like, no, I went out last night, I just don't want to chill. I'm like, I know, like you got to start trying to put yourself in uncomfortable situations if you want to start to see changes and stuff like that. And it's just little things. I'm like, some people, I'm like, oh man, I want to start. Everybody has like all these big long-term goals, like, oh, I want to lose 15 kilos, I want to get in shape, I want to do this and that. I'm like, let's just start off with one thing, like get 1 walk a day in and have like 1 scheduled good meal. And it's like, and people always try and go to the end and they can commit to it a bit and they get burned out, where it's just like nailing the basics and sort of compounding your little wins, which ends up with the bigger wins. Whereas I see so many people like mates and like acquaintances and stuff like that I see around, they're just stuck in that constant loop where they always talk about the change, but they're always trying to go for drastic ones instead of getting like the little wins and that sort of thing.
Dude, you don't hear many 23-year-olds talk like that. No, you don't. Yeah. It's really impressive. How hard is the temptation, like at your age, like how hard is it resisting the temptation to go and party and chase girls and whatever? You know, like what probably many of your mates are doing. Like sorry to keep talking, but I'll just say, like, when I was your age, man, I was traveling, I was partying. That's all I cared about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to be so disciplined, train. You probably train 6 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
How hard is that to resist?
Oh, I don't find it hard at all, man.
What?
I got no interest in it.
Interesting.
Yeah, because the way I look at it is like,
I mean, do you drink?
I do drink now and then for like, not even like a social thing. Like, so last time I drank was when I had my grappling match and I won, and like had drinks with the boys, had fun, obviously, and
After
that sort
the
of
fight.
thing. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
But I don't even like the taste of alcohol, to be honest, man.
Dude.
Like, I'm drinking if I want to get drunk and like have a dance and have fun with my mates and like.
You don't feel pressure off your mates though?
I don't care what they think. I've got goals and shit I want to do. So I mean, like when people are like, oh, don't you like feel like you're missing out? I'm like, no, because I know if I went out and did that, I wouldn't be enjoying it because I know it like doesn't align with what I want to do, sort of thing. So it's like,
Yeah, dude.
I work on like I work security Saturday nights and that, and like even just working that, like I see how obviously everybody, I'm exactly the same when I'm drunk and seeing how people carry on and that. But I'm like, man, I'm so happy I just don't have to do that. Like, it just doesn't interest me. Even like the whole like chasing girls and that sort of thing. Like, obviously it's a fun in that, but I'm like, it's not going to help me get to where I got to go. It's like more of a distraction. Like, I don't want distractions in my life. I just want to stay focused and put everything to get me where I want to go.
You know how you've got a dream?
Mm-hmm.
You know a lot of people don't have that.
Yeah, it's sad actually.
Like but you found something that lights you up.
Yeah.
A lot of people spend their whole life finding that thing.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm very fortunate to have sort of found at a very young age.
You are. And you realise that.
Yeah.
It's funny you talk about the drinking, because I don't drink either.
Yeah.
I haven't drunk alcohol in like 10 years, but I find when I do see people drinking or drunk, it just seems so fake. And I just feel like they're actually missing out on so much. You know, like I never want to wake up with another hangover.
Yeah.
Like, look at this day outside. It's magic.
Beautiful,
I'm going to go hike Mount Kira later.
Yeah, nice.
You know, and it's like, I wouldn't do that if I was hungover. You know, just sitting on the lounge missing out.
Yeah, even just like for headspace it puts you in sort of thing. Like it's just not, because the way I look at it is like, yeah, obviously you can go out have fun in that. But like you said, it's almost like that fake persona, or you almost have like, it's like a social lubricant where people can finally feel like they can be themselves after a few drinks. They can go chat to their mate. They can go talk to this chick, which they normally couldn't do. And that, I'm like, why do you need that? You should be able to just do it within yourself and sort of thing. So I'm like, I'm the same person as I am now when I drink. I'm just more clumsy and I want to dance a little bit more, but I'm still the same person. But you see some people, they're so in their shell and they need like 5 to 10 drinks to open up and finally sort of become their like almost like their true selves.
Pardon me. Yeah, do you also in the back of your mind, you're like, if I do this, I'm going to pay for this in the gym next week.
Oh, man.
And even when, like, what about eating shit food? Like, do you eat shit food now and go, man, I'm going to feel that at the lactic session on whatever day? Is that what you think?
100%. Yeah, so especially once you get how I like to operate is I always want to feel like I'm at my peak performance. So say even like little things like if you get a bad night of sleep or something, I'm like, realistically, you're probably not feeling that bad compared to the average person, but I always want to feel at my absolute best and feel I can always perform at 100%. So any little thing which is going to take away from that is just not worth it for the end of the day, because I might be able to say hit a hard session and I might only be able to go to 85%, which is still a good hard session sort of thing. But if you start doing that, you're missing out on all these little extra sort of increments of growth that you're going to get if you did do all the extra little things right when you can perform at 100%. So, yeah, I'm really just trying to just maximize everything like sleep, recovery, nutrition. Like I go to bed at like 8:15, 8:30, like 6 days a week besides when I work security, and I get up at like 7. So I get like 10 hours of sleep a night and stuff like that.
So you get up at 7 and you're in the gym every morning?
Yeah, so it depends on the day. So like Monday, Wednesday, I head into Wollongong, do my S&C at Bay Med Performance with Chris Jaffrey and that. And then
you train it with him as well?
Yep.
I know Volkanovski trains with him.
Yeah. So I actually, little tangent. So I actually wasn't doing anything properly, and then I ended up breaking my back in training.
What?
Yeah, when I was 20. Yeah, so
I cracked a vertebrae or something.
I think I fractured 1 or 1.5 mils either side of my L5.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's a big one too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a big injury. And then, so I went to Baymed. They helped me out with my physio and rehab. And then I've just been doing, S&C ever since then with them sort of thing. So even though it...
Sorry, what's S&C? I feel
strength and conditioning.
Oh. Fucking dickhead. So sorry.
No, it's all good. But even though like it was a terrible injury sort of thing, put me on that correct. Like, I always think like there's silver linings in everything you do. So like, yeah, 100%. Like, so I broke my back, which everyone's like, fuck, you broke your back at 20. How was it? I'm like, same thing as with like the coronavirus, which we'll talk about later, how I caught it in America and what that came to. But I'm like, breaking my back led me to work with these guys who taught me how important it is to actually take care of my body, get like a proper rehab program for my body, get a proper strength and conditioning, and start learning to listen. So like every day I've got like a yoga mat set up at my house. I've got foam rollers, trigger point boys, like mats with spikes on it, so right, like everything just keeping because like my body is pretty much what I need to do. So I used to neglect it, not worry about it, but having a massive injury like that really sort of makes you appreciate like how much your body actually does for you.
Yeah, and it's also just putting you in tune and connected with your body. In my opinion, I think a lot of people are really disconnected from their body and they're not listening to their body, you know, and they'll still participate in certain behaviours or, you know, activities that's really detrimental to them. And then the body will just give way one day and they'll get like a really silly injury or an injury. I barely did anything and my knee popped out. Well, it's like, well, maybe that was on its way, but you weren't listening. Maybe you needed to develop some strength here or there. And so I just think it's really like high order, high level sort of thinking that you're doing as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, a perfect example is we have one of my good mates from the gym is he tore his knee. He tore his ACL, like a freak injury. Like he legit was just sitting down with his leg out in front of him, came up over it to like in the gym just to go drill with someone, set up, tore his knee.
Shit.
Got
ACL?
ACL, yeah. Got the surgery, recovered in that. And then I kept harassing him. I'm like, bro, you still, because he went to Baymouth, I'm like, bro, you still doing your rehab in that?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, nah, like it feels
good
now.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm like, bro, can I just give you one piece of advice? Like the biggest thing I would say to do is just keep constantly like stay on top of your strength and conditioning sort of thing, because you don't realize you might not feel a difference. It's going to suck. It's an extra 2 or 3 hours a week, but it's going to make all the difference in the long term to actually sort of help your body get better. And then, unlucky for him, he actually just retore his knee. And I was like, bro, I'm not like saying I told you so or anything like that. Like it's terrible what happened, but this is why you got to stay on top of these little things, because even though it's a sort of a headache doing the extra 2-3 hours for something that you're not going to notice the benefit of, I'm like, what's 2 to 3 hours a week when you're looking at another 6 to 8 months on the sideline because you didn't stick to it, the strength didn't stay up, and then you can just reoccur, and you only have like so many times you can do something big like an ACL before it goes, and you just can't come back from it.
Do you realise how much you're learning?
I didn't when it first started, but now sort of looking back on things, I've realised like since a young age, I've had a very good sort of network of people surrounding me, like experts in the field, like top world-class dietitians, world-class gym conditioners, like world-class athletes and coaches. And like, I just try and think like with sort of where I want to get to, and that is how I like to explain it to people is like, I feel like I'm a video game character and I've got X amount of controllers, and all I do is I just get people around me and I'm like, you have a controller, use 5 people here, tell me what to do, you give me all the inputs, and I just give you the output of what you say sort of thing. I just try and soak everything in that way.
Dude, it's really impressive. Like, again, because here's what I was just thinking then, like, you know, you're also developing these qualities of like discipline, commitment. You have to be probably highly organised, you know, with your training schedule and your diet. And so that takes organisation, problem solving. You probably take a lot of initiative. Do you realise that those qualities when you're older, maybe when fighting's finished, whether you go into business or a job, that all those qualities that you're developing now are going to serve you in other areas of your life later on? Do you ever think of that?
Sometimes I don't necessarily think about it too much now, but the way I think of it a little bit different is because a lot of people, nothing wrong with it, but a lot of people always ask like, oh, what's your plan B? Like, are you studying? Do you have a backup or anything? And the way I look at it is like, the way I approach this is, if this doesn't work out, I don't need a backup, because I feel like you can learn so much by going all in at something for such a long time that you can translate it to any other avenue. And you might only have 2 years of experience in a new field, but you can outshow guys with like 20 years of experience just because you know how to do that grind, how to set everything up, how to grow like at a sort of really fast rate compared to people just sort of podding along in the field. So yeah, I think there's a massive benefit to getting something, going all in, seeing where you can go, and then you can just translate that to sort of any other area of your life afterwards if it doesn't work out.
And you will. Mm-hmm. But people want to play it safe.
Yeah.
Dude, and it's funny how you said, oh, what's your back? People always want to know what your backup
They do,
is.
yeah.
No, there is some validity to that, but I'm as I get older and think about these things more, I think, yeah, go all in because you are learning, you are developing. It's almost like you're doing an apprenticeship right now.
Yeah.
For later on.
Yeah, the way I look at it is like worst case scenario is I'll open up my own gym, live in like a 1-bedroom granny flat somewhere, live near the beach, teach like 20 classes a week and that sort of thing, and live out of my gym and like go to the beach and go for walks with a dog or somewhere a week. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like a bad life sort of thing. It's like a backup plan sort of thing. So I'm like, who cares? Just go for it anyway.
No, you're going to be champion.
Oh, yeah. I'm confident with that part, yeah.
I
I say that's a backup, but that's what I want to do as well as being a champion. That's sort of like what I do is just have my own gym when everything's done, teach 4 or 5 hours a week and then just chill and just live near the beach and then just enjoy life.
I love it. I love you not stressing about that. You actually work at Freestyle as well?
Yeah,
as a trainer?
Yeah, so I coach, teach classes and do like personal training and that, yeah.
And you grew up in the Illawarra region?
Yeah, so I was born Wollongong Hospital. I lived, I had like split parents, so I was living down up in Huskisson for a bit, Huskisson and here, and then back and forth until but pretty much born and raised Illawarra.
Do you mind if I ask how old you were when your parents split?
How old? I think I was 4, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so young.
So it's quite a normal party. It was quite.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, so I got like I live with my dad and my stepmom now, and like stepmom's pretty much like my real mum. So I've always she's like fucking top G legend.
Awesome. How would you describe your childhood though?
Honestly, the way the parents made it work, obviously it was awkward with like. It was like every second weekend custody. Holidays was like school holidays 1 week down there and that sort of thing. But they made it work sort of thing. So I think it was just like any other childhood. Like I had twin brother, older sister. I didn't mind it. I used to get like double presents at Christmas and shit like that. So it's like, yeah.
It's great. Double presents. Everyone says that. Because I'm the same situation.
Yeah.
This exact same situation. 2 Christmases, 2 birthdays. But would you say you're quite close to your siblings?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Me and my brother, we never used to be close though because we were always like hyper competitive, and then we were training together. Then like the age like 13, 14, we sort of split apart because like he went down like for more like party route, like high school stuff, and I was still just like, I don't care. I just want to go to the gym fucking as much as I can. Like I don't go to a house party on Friday night. I'll go to spa Saturday morning sort of thing. So we went a path that way, but then we're like 18, 19. I was like, you're actually a pretty good dude. And now we're like close like this, yeah.
Nice,
There's like #1 supporter and everything. It's awesome.
What about school days? Like how would you rate your time at school? Were you a good student?
Not really, to be honest. Like the problem is I was working. So I turned 18. My birthday's in June, so I was 18, and I was working in nightclubs Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night while I still at high school.
So you're 18 working in nightclubs?
Yeah.
What, security?
Security, yeah.
At that age?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You would have been small.
Yeah, I'm still am, but yeah, mate. So that's
What? So would anyone fuck with you though?
yeah, so much.
Really?
Yeah, but I look back on it now, and I think it was the best thing ever because like I'm pretty quick. Not really, because I always knew how to fight. So when it first started, I was a bit nervous, but like I look at it as like I'm pretty naturally like quick-witted now of like that. And I tell people, even last night I had a couple incidents with people getting mouthy and that, and like I love it. I'm like, this is just like free press conference practice. And so I'm like, if people want to get like smart in that with me, it's just going to teach me to be like quick on my feet. So if I'm ever in like a press conference or something like that, someone says a quick one-liner, I can have one back straight away. So I don't mind it.
Dude, you're thinking like that.
Yeah.
You're thinking like a champion every aspect. Yeah. Well, because I think that's the trait of a true champion. It's like, yeah, okay, obviously you've got to be a good fighter and you've got to win. But I also think a huge part of it is, how well are you going to deal with the media? Mm-hmm. You know, how well are you going to represent yourself?
Yeah.
And what messages are you going to put out to the world, you know?
Yeah.
Like, are you going to do a shoey after you win your first UFC fight?
I don't like beer.
Just tested it. Yeah, I don't like beer either.
I just can't get a taste for it, eh?
Nah, either could I, but I still drunk it because like this society we grew up in told me that that's what you have to do, so I forced myself to
I'm a
drink
vodka cruiser guy. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I'll drink whatever tastes fruity and nice, eh?
God, I never liked alcohol, but I just used to drink it because I thought that's what everyone wanted me to do. And it took me many years to go, you know what, I don't even like this shit. I'm done.
Yeah.
You know? But I just love how you've risen above that. I'm like, fuck that. I'm not going to do what people tell me to do. Like, this is not for me, so I'm not doing it. But I think so many people just conform because that's what everyone else is doing and it's safe.
Yeah. I feel like that's what I always say. Like, I'm so lucky and just fortunate to like sort of get put in these situations where like I was 13 going into spending like, instead of spending my hours like with like there's nothing wrong with, but like around a footy culture or like just hanging out with mates, like running the streets, and I was stuck in like a gym with like professional athletes, a world-renowned coach, and like going up to tournaments, on like my weekends, or like going down to Melbourne to watch Alex fight for like Australian titles now when I was like 16, 17 and that. So I was always surrounded by that really good environment. And so I never sort of, even when I was growing up, like I never sort of had heaps of mates my own age. Like a lot of my mates and that were like older. Like I used to be like 16, I'd go down bodyboarding with like down the coast and that, like Aussie pipe and stuff like that with mates who were like in their like mid-20s and that, just hanging out with them, surfing with them, because I just got on better with on them, and I realised I could have better conversations with them than I could with like people my own age sort of thing.
Dude, that's so cool. Hey, what's it like being in Volk's fight camps?
Painful.
Because you're just going for it?
Nah, it's not. It's actually, it's amazing sort of thing. So Volk's done a lot of his camps here because we obviously got a really good relationship with City Kickboxing over in New Zealand. Yeah. But say, for example, when Corona happened, we had to get a government exemption from like Brad Hazard and that, like a legit letter written up. We had to keep it in front of our gym, and we all had to carry like work permits just to get to the gym and that. And then so we had to build a camp around Alex. It was a nightmare. So then that's how guys like Jamie Malaki, Josh Coolabau, Blake Donnelly, like Trent Girdham, all these killers on the Australian UFC scene, we just ended up getting a cabin. Like Volko did, he got a cabin, rented it out for 6 weeks, put him there, gave him a place to stay, gave him like an allowance, and we just build a camp around that, and we're just in the gym 2-3 times a day, 6-7 days a week, just training for that.
And that's what I said to you at the start. Like, why are all these fighters wanting to come to freestyle? Is it because it's just you guys have just created the most top level training for MMA, UFC? I
think it's the gym environment as a whole. Joe's a very smart coach, but he's very open as well to like ideas and that. Whereas a lot of coaches like, nah, you're going to spar with this dude, this dude, this dude. They're going to be your 3 sparring partners for the next 6 weeks, and that's all you're going to train with. He's like, get as many people as you can, get all the different looks. So when him and Alex were coming up, like they would go to Thailand, they'd go to everywhere, like all these different gyms, and try and train with as many body types as you can, because like at the end of the day, when you're fighting someone, they're going to show you things that you've probably never seen before. Yeah. And it's how well you can adapt to actually seeing and sort of adjusting to what they do in front of you. So if you only spar with, say, 10 guys your whole fight camp, and then you get a new look and you're not familiar with it, it's going to be, where if you're training with 100 different guys during your fight camp, you're breaking down the looks, and you're just getting much more comfortable. You're getting reads a lot quicker. And that's what's
exposed to every
scenario possible. And then, it's just also Joe's like mentality behind training, whereas like, it is hard. Like if you're on like the assault bike, he's yelling at you for like the whole 60 seconds, and you're going to slow down, and he knows you're going to slow down, but he's going to yell at you to pick it up. So it's very high intensity, but like you can see the results it brings. So it sucks, but I love it.
What was it like traveling to the States with Volk and stuff for some of his fights? Because you have done that, haven't you?
Twice, yeah.
Twice. So which ones did you? I know you told me before you got.
So I did the Holloway first time. So I actually went to Vegas when I was 20 with a fake ID. Yeah, and it worked too. And
were you ringside for the first Holloway fight?
I was backstage.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell us the vibe. What's it like?
Oh man, it was unreal. So we got there early.
Not every human would get to be
backstage for the mate to win a world title. Yeah. So we got to like, even the whole. I think I was over in Vegas for like 8 days or something like that. So we had some Americans who came over here to train with us. So I ended up winning over there. And I stayed at his place, and then so we went to like the UFC Performance Institute.
Whose place?
My mate's place, Vance, in America. Okay, so we stayed there, and then Joe and that, they were at the Red Rock, and then so even like on the fight, like the Wayne's day, it was unreal. But then going to the fight night, we went there early because Kai fought Moreno the first time then, and then Kai lost, but then being backstage, like you've seen, like Peter Yan was warming up when he fought Faber. It was such a unreal environment, and then just being a part and just sort of feeling the energy and that. And then
how did you feel around the energy? Were you like, this is where I want to be?
Yeah, exactly. It was it was like, this is what I want to do. Like, I want to be in them shoes, sort of feeling that, and sort of,
less intimidating. Like, now, because obviously growing up as a little kid, like seeing that on TV and stuff, you could build it up in your head. But then actually being there, and you're like, hey, they're just normal people like me. Yeah.
It's sort of bring that human aspect of it. Yeah, exactly right. Whereas a lot of people sort of, obviously it's still going to be nerve-wracking in that, but it's sort of familiarizes, like, it's not like something brand new, foreign. Like, it's not like you're on another planet or anything. It's just the same sort of thing you do in the gym. Like, it's just a different sort of setting for it.
Was there lots of egos though?
Nah.
Everyone's pretty humble.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, fighting
Interesting.
it's probably, I've met so many cool fighters. Like,
that's what spins me out, because I feel like fighters are humble when really like they could be complete dicks too.
Yeah.
I mean, did you meet Max Holloway?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I think with that fighting thing, it's like even just go back to a quick example. Like last night I was security in that, and one of my mates was like, he's like, how don't you like get annoyed and just slap people? I'm like, bro, all I do for like 6 to 7 days a week is train and fight people. I'm like, the last thing I want to do is when I'm out is worried about like anything like that. Like, I'm just happy and chilled. Like, we spar Saturdays, and like after like a Saturday sparring, I'm like on a cloud 9 for the rest of the day. I'm like, got my rounds, and it's just an unreal feeling. Like, so like someone cuts you off and I'm like, who cares, sort of thing. I'm like, don't care at this point. I do get all my anger and frustrations out at the gym.
Yeah, and that's funny because like I've said this to Brett too a few times, like Brett Harriet, who I used to train with, again, just full basic stuff compared to what you do. But I feel like when I'm sparring and boxing regularly, I feel way more calm. Like, I feel less aggressive. Like, and I just think a lot of males primarily, we need some kind of outlet like that. We need an outlet for aggression, because otherwise, you see it all the time. It translates into sometimes domestic abuse, fights in the street, and these are scenarios that that can have life-changing implications. And I just think it's so good for men to be around that energy sometimes.
Oh, 100%. That's why there's always something about, even just like going doing like a hard weight session, going for a hard run or something, where you just sort of have to face that little bit of like adversity in your mind and just push through it and sort of break a barrier or something like that, accomplish a little goal, get a little win. And then you're like, all right, I can do this. It's not like not sitting at home like, oh, fuck, like what I'm going to do. And then something small, minute happens and you can make a big deal, and it sort of escalates from there. Whereas like, so like after I finish like a hard week of training, like I'll go to work and like someone will say something smart to me. I'll be like, this is cool. I don't care, bro. Like,
I mean,
whatever.
Would you ever let yourself get in a street fight?
Fuck no, I'm terrified of street fights, man. I'm like, not only for like, obviously like my safety is like, I'm worried about that because obviously like king hits and that.
Absolutely.
But man, all it takes is like one bad push or something. Someone falls, hits their head, boom, they die. They get lifelong injuries or something. Not only can you get charged, you have that with your conscience. And like, you should, like, especially anyone who's trained with that, you should know how to de-escalate a situation or how to at least control a situation so it doesn't have to come to that.
Yeah, my father told me an amazing story years ago before he passed away. He said when he was a younger man, he used to get involved in street fights sometimes. And he said there was this one guy that he was after, he was going to get him, some shit talking going on, and it was going to be on, and he's like, when I see that guy, I'm going to smash him. Anyway, seen him, decided not to do it. Found out a week later that guy had a tumour in his head and actually subsequently died of a brain tumour. And he goes, it was the biggest life lesson. He goes, imagine I hit him and he had a brain tumour, and I killed him, and I think it can go pear-shaped so quick. And I think, and again, like when I watch UFC, it's, it just takes that, sometimes a tap on the chin and it rattles their brain, and people get knocked out. And like you said, but in the street, it's not like a safe octagon environment where the floor's got a little bit of give in it and there's a cage and there's a ref. It's like they fall on a brick or they fall on a gutter. And so it's really nice to hear you sort of convey those messages to anyone that wants to, go out in the street and throw hands when they're drunk.
I think even just that part you said, the drunk part, like, you see some people, they can barely walk, and like, or even as soon as they get like drug affected or anything like that. So it's like, there's so many things that can go bad. Whereas I think like, any situation, like even in security, if I see two people, like my first goal is to separate and de-escalate, and just like you can say everything you want to each other. It doesn't matter, but like you cannot get physical, because as soon as it only goes up from there, then all it takes are like poor people like pass it by, group mentality. Like I've seen people get jumped before, like gutter stomped, kicked in the head, king hit and everything. And it is, and so many things can go bad. And not only that, like obviously the person doing it is like not in the right space of doing it, but how many times have people like you've been drunk or something before and something little which wouldn't matter ticked you off that little extra little bit, and then all it takes is a impulse moment. Boom, you might be a top guy, you've had a shit day, you've had a bit too much to drink, someone tips you off, you give them a hit behind the head, they fall, your life's done now for like 20 years or something like that.
Or like even lower level, like you just get an assault charge, you got a criminal record. I mean, criminal records follow people around for years, and it inhibits their ability to get jobs or apply for study courses sometimes. Like it can really limit your options. So thanks for putting those messages out there, man.
Nah, that's all I think. Yeah, I think people are, pardon me, are getting more aware of it, especially with like stop the pardon me, like for stop the cowl punch and king hit and stuff like that, which is it's a very important message to sort of get out. Is like I always think it's like just take a step back, take a couple of deep breaths, and just like you got to think a little bit more long term and think a little bit more ahead of like what are the consequences for his actions. Like sure, I might get in a blue, I might beat this bloke, but I'm going to feel good for like 5 seconds after this. And then you got to think about the next sort of 5 hours, 5 days, 5 weeks, how many more repercussions. Like I've seen it before where people sort of get in a scrap, then they come back a week later, they're like, oh, I'm getting a security footage, I'm going to charge him.
Yeah, right.
And shit like that. And you can just like only imagine like how many like drag someone through like the courts and shit like that can really sort of ruin lives and that sort of thing. Or for like a little irrational impulse moment, which is why I think if you can like get in a gym or something, let it out, learn like how good it feels when you actually get rid of all of that, but also learn like the actual dangers behind it, can really sort of not only like help people, but also save a lot of life. So you don't see like the two young 20 testosterone fueled guys trying to have a swing to see who's a bigger man sort of thing on a pavement at like 3 a.m.
Dude, it's like, again, I don't. A majority of 23-year-olds don't think like you. And I think that's like to hear these words come from you. I think, I mean, an older person can say it to young men, but they're just going to go. Pff. But to hear it from someone like you who could definitely like handle themselves in those situations, but is saying like, nah, dude, I'm aware of this is what can happen. Yep. It's really powerful, man.
Cheers, man. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Legend. Well, man, listen, it's been epic and it's such a pleasure, and I'm definitely going to be following your career. And I have guests on repeatedly, and it's kind of like I like to document their journey over the years. So hopefully you'll come back on in a couple of years, see where you're at with it all.
Couple more belts around my shoulders.
For sure, man. I can see it. Like, it's amazing. And I guess for me, on a personal level, I just get so inspired to meet people who are really living their dream and their passion and going after it, like, and I just want to send that message out, and you're doing it amazingly. So
thank you very much.
Thank you, brother. Now, listen, I ask all guests to come to the podcast with a cause they want to support or advocate for. So what do you got for us?
Oh, it works out well. I got the Talk to Me Ro shirt on. So, yeah, and I just think, like, just get behind the cause. Like, it's, even you see guys like Paddy Pimlett about it and talk about he had a mate who committed suicide. And everybody, like, I have bad days. Everybody has bad days, that sort of thing. But all it takes is, like, one message to a mate is like, hey, bro, can we grab a coffee over the weekend? Just want to chat, get some things off my chest. And I think if more people are open to doing that, it would really sort of get rid of the stigma around it, because I feel like too many people try and hold. I'm personally do it sometimes too, whereas I feel like I've got all this external pressure from like I've got a fight coming up, I've got this, I've got to worry about my weight, I've got all these stresses. I'm like, fuck, sometimes it feels like such a big burden, whereas all I have to do, I'm like, oh, hey, bro, can we go for a walk? Let's just chat for an hour, catch a sunset, grab a coffee, and boom, you share it with your mate, and you sort of communicate. Yeah. And like as soon as you can get it off your chest, it's like such a relief. And not only that, you get another person's input, they can give you another perspective. And I think so what these boys do is unreal. Like it's hard because I teach 6 a.m. class and that, so I haven't been able to go to like any of the early meetups, but like get in any sort of social group around, we're just able to have a chat, have a yarn, chat some shit, talk about sort of problems, and just put it out in the open and get new input ideas and that, and just sort of, even if you're not chatting about problems, but just having a good chat. I think like a lot of blokes, like the idea of like a good communication is to go down to a pub on like for Friday, sink a few beers and have a chat in there. I think like, yeah, it's fine, but it's almost like a coping mechanism where I'm like, grab a coffee, mate, go for like a walk along the beach, go for a swim, get a training session and sort of see how you feel and chat that way. And I feel like it can really sort of help you out. It's like why the Talk to Me Bro guys, they do all the breath work, beach stuff and stuff like that. It's unreal.
Yeah, just like you're saying, like I think having conversations outside of the pub and outside of drinking is so much more important, dude. Like you said, going for a walk, exercising together, and then real conversations, don't you reckon?
Yeah. They're raw. There's no sort of, well, as you would say, like there's no substance or anything behind it. Like there's no alcohol, drugs, or it's legit just raw. It's what's on your mind and you communicate to someone. And you have to have a good relationship with someone to be able to open up in that.
Yep.
But I think if more people did that, they'd sort of realise like, as some people put it, like they think like the world's against them or things aren't trying to work out. Whereas like I forget who said it, but someone says like a problem shared is a problem halved.
Yes.
I think that's a great way to look at things. And it's just, if you can just, blokes, just be more open, just get things off your chest, have a chat with your mates about it. And I think we'll see like it's a lot better. Not only will your mates feel better for actually knowing that they're there to help you, it'll also make you feel better because you're not carrying over like burdens by yourself.
Yes, brother. Yes, Colby. I want to go back to Paddy Pimblett a little bit because like I really loved his message, and my condolences to his friend and their family. Like, there's no doubt, and I think him putting those messages out there on that level are great. But I'm a little bit conflicted because I'll be honest, I didn't like the way he conducted himself in the lead up to the Jordan Levitt fight. I really didn't like how he didn't shake his hand at the weigh-in. I just thought that was, look, I know shit talking is a big thing and it's all part of the game. I get that. But in that instance, I just didn't rate that the way he really went after that Jordan guy. And that Jordan guy is a bit awkward, he's a bit odd.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? I don't know.
I feel like I think I know where Paddy comes from. Is I think in his mindset, he's the type of guy where he needs to almost dislike you or have a vendetta against you to fight you. So I think he almost realistically, I think if they met under different circumstances, they wouldn't have a problem with each other.
Yeah.
But I think because he's like, this is my. I know people at the gym he has to do it. They have to make almost like an enemy or like they have to make something a lot bigger than it is out of it, purely so they have that motivation. Like, I don't like this about him. They can get all these little like sort of ticks about the person where they use that to motivate and fuel. So in his head, he's like, no, he's awkward, he's this, he's that. And he's sort of using that to get the motivations for the fight and that. We see a lot of like another example is sort of Nate Diaz, whereas he's probably like one of the nicest guys out. But as soon as you sign to fight him, he's instantly talking trash. He's talking about how he's going to smack you, smack your family and stuff. And it's just guys need that sort of, they need that. They can't sort of do that athletic endeavor pursuit. They need to have sort of like narrative sort of built into it where in the head they're the good guy coming to bash a bad guy who's trying to take everything away from him. I think that's all Paddy did with his like, he could have been a bit more respectful of it, but in his head he's like, nah, F this dude, I'll get some headlines off him, rah, he's trying to get my path, and he did it that way. No,
for me, that one moment of like went to shake his hand at weigh-in and then pulled it back. For some reason, like I know there's all the trash talking and all that, and I get it, but that one moment I just went, I didn't like that. I just didn't like that. He could have at least shook his hand. But I mean, Conor McGregor too. I mean, that's when I see Conor McGregor talk shit now too, and he picks people apart so well. It's just the show. I see showmanship, and
exactly
it's so
right.
fun. It's fun as.
Yeah.
I can't imagine you ever being like that though.
Nah, man. If someone wants to say something, I'll see if I can get a quick remark off that. Like, I don't care I don't care what you think, bro. Like, say whatever you want. Like, I've had guys at weigh-ins, like, I'm obviously, I'm not a very intimidating guy, to put it lightly. Like, I don't look super scary or that sort of thing.
They're the scariest.
So I've had guys in that, like, mad dog, like, eyes at me and that at weigh-ins. And I put my hands behind my back and smile. Yeah, I'm like,
that's fucking
I'm like,
scary.
I don't care. I'm like, we get a fight tomorrow, bro. Like, there's nothing you're going to do now which is going to change how I feel in the next 24 hours. Like, if I was scared of that, I wouldn't be here wanting to fight you, sort of thing. Like,
always shake hands?
Always shake hands.
Always touch gloves?
Always. I think it was my second or third amateur fight. A guy came down to spar And I think I went to Groove and Move. I went to a festival the day before, and so I was pretty hungover and that coming back from it. And he beat the shit out of me sparring, and I was like, I don't care. Like, I just wanted to get a sweat out. And then I think he fought and said, he's like, oh, he's not very good. So he asked to fight me, and then he blocked me because I followed him on Instagram. Like, oh, we got rounded, and I'll have a chat to him and that. Yeah. Then he blocked me, and I was like, oh, I don't care. Then one of my mates on his profile was like, I forget, so it was like September 7th, it's like 7th, little bitch goes down. I was like talking all this shit and that. Gets
on
to
socials.
Get to Wayne, like tried to staunch me and that. I'm like, what are you doing, bro? Like, you missed weight. Why are you trying to staunch me? And like, I went out there, smiled, choked him out in the first round. Like,
Did you?
In front of his hometown. I'm like, I don't, like, fighting does the talking, bro. Like, we're amateurs. Like, nobody really cares that much about like what goes on in like an amateur scene sort of thing. Besides like me and you and like a couple of our family and coaches. Like, there's no need to make like a real big deal out of it. Sort of thing.
I see insecurity when people like that.
That's exactly right.
It was kind of like when with the Vulcan Holloway 3 fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really surprised that Holloway started talking trash towards the end there, and Volk just kept his composure. But the second Holloway started doing that, I read it as oh shit, he's insecure, he's scared, he's fucking scared.
Yep.
And what do you know? You got fucking beat up. But but when you said that you put your hands behind your back and smile, for me personally, that's scarier. I was like, this dude, he's pretty relaxed, man. So
it's like perfect example of that Holloway thing is like you could almost see like the first 2 times he was more chilled and relaxed with it, and then he sort of it's like Alex was talking about it where he needed the crowd. He's like, that's what he said. He's like, feed off a crowd. He's like, I know you need them. He's like, because you can't beat me without them. You need to get all the energy from them, and that was like a telltale sign. Like, obviously he needed to do it.
I love Volk said one thing at a press conference or something. He said, he's like, mate, dude, are you having a bad weight cut or something? Are you all right? Like, it's just like fucking good.
He had some good calls actually where he said something and he's like, that's why he can't spar anymore. You hit him head too much and shit like that. Like, he was on fire, that one.
But how was that cut above Holloway's eye? I thought they were going to call the fight. I think even Joe Rogan or one of the commentators said, oh, that's too deep. Like, you've seen it in between rounds. Like, it was so deep.
He had a vagina in his head.
It was
legit.
It was vertical.
Yeah, vertical.
Fuck. It was just like, I can't believe. But to Holloway's credit, he kept going. But jeez.
Yeah, Alex said he saw his skull. It's like when it first happened and before the blood started to fill up, he's like he saw the white.
Well, you hear it in the fight. Volk starts going, oh, it's bad. I think he even goes there, it's bad. It's a bad one. It's a bad one. Good times, man. Well, listen, I'll leave you to it. And thanks for advocating for Talk to Me Bro. If you scroll down in this episode's show notes, you'll find a link to Talk to Me Bro and how you can be involved and what you can learn from him, maybe how you can donate some money. I'll also put some links to some of Colby's fights and support him wherever you can. And you can find this episode on a variety of other podcasting platforms other than the one you're listening to right now, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. But whatever platform you like to listen on, it always really helps the show if you subscribe and leave a review. And it just helps me to keep spreading the messages of legends such as Colby Thickenesse.
Thank you very much.
Golden boy. Thank you, sir.
My man, legend. Thank you for having me on.
You.